Okay, so in the fourth and final video for part 7, we're going to have a look at the fourth task that we've been asked. Try it out for yourself if you feel inclined to do so. Otherwise, we'll crack on through it. And so let's head on in to SQL Server Management Studio. We've actually been given a whole list of things that we need to return for the sales director, as is after a full breakdown of all sales from 2015. So we know we've got a little bit of a filter there, and we know with sales that we might be joining quite a few tables to fulfill these requirements. What he wants to see are the following, and at the top the order ID. If it's about sales, we know that it's all about orders and invoices as well. Sales will imply that it's the items that have been shipped, not just the items that have been placed on order. So we'll most likely be focusing on the invoiced orders, so we know we can inner join to the invoicing table, as until an item is actually shipped and gone to the customer, it's not classed as revenue just yet, despite the fact that a customer may have paid for the order at the point and then he'll wait for it to be shipped out. At the end of the day, sales revenue is only classed as items that have been invoiced. So we know we can join the order table with an inner join to the invoice table in this situation, and there's quite a few other bits and pieces thrown in. So let's begin our query. Start off with a good old select star from, and we're going to pull our sales table, our orders, sales orders table as O, and then simply inner join to our invoice table, to put the schema in first. There we go. Invoices as I on the order ID equals order ID. Now you can see I haven't brought in the order lines table, even though it's got the product name, because I know the product name is actually in the invoice lines table, which we have to pull to get our invoice quantity. So I'm starting to build up a little bit of knowledge as we've been through and working with these tables about what sort of data is held on each one, and bringing in invoice lines, inner joining on that without actually bringing in a column from that table is just a waste of resource and will slow down your query. So we also want to inner join onto our invoice lines. I'm going to call this L dot invoice ID equals I dot invoice ID. So we've joined quite a few bits and pieces together, the main sales information here, and once again we've done an inner join onto the invoices because we don't want to display any items that haven't been shipped. So any orders that have not been shipped, we're not classing them as part of the sales. So can we start working with these three tables? Certainly can. So the order ID, let's pull that from our orders table, and then we're getting the product name that we can get from our invoice lines, remember description, and then we can simply say as product name if we want to rename the column accordingly. And then next on the list we have the invoiced quantity. Quantity, there we go. And we can rename that as we see fit. So we're starting to build up quite a bit there. And remember, he's asked for the sales during 2015, so we can put a cheeky where clause in there. Where are year? Let's grab a little bit of that code to make our life easy. Equal 2015. So as you can see, our query is now starting to take shape. We've pulled in quite a few columns so far. We've got our order ID, our product name, invoice quantity, and then we can just simply tick them off as we go. Oh, there's date of sale in there, so let's chuck that one in. Date of sale is the invoicing, invoice date, and that will be in our invoices table. Invoice date, we'll say date of sale for good measure. There we go. There's a few things thrown in there. Date of sale, latest stock take quantity, item cost price, stock group, package type. Now we're starting to bring in additional data that we haven't seen before, so we're going to have to look at that. Before we do that, let's bring in the customer name. That's pretty easy to do. Let's sort that one out quickly. Customers, SC on C dot customer ID equals, and we know the customer ID is in the orders table. And we'll make it as the second column here. Customer name, there you have it. If you ticked off the list, easy. Right, what's next? After invoiced quantity, we have got unit price. So let's have a quick look at the tables we're working with, see if it's in there or if we need to bring in any other tables. Prices in that will sort of be in the lines tables. Let's have a look at that. Quantity, unit price. There we go. So we'll bring in the unit price after invoice quantity. Unit price. So that's another one off the list. Date of sale. We've got our invoice date there. Next, latest stock take quantity. That's not in any of these tables. So let's have a look at our database and see if we can work out where we can find this field. If we're looking at stock take, it's probably something to do with warehousing. As you can see, we've got ourselves a nice little warehouse schema. So one good place to start looking in, got stock item holdings, stock items, transactions. Let's have a look in there, shall we? If we'd right click, select top 1000 rows, we can see here that we've got a latest stock take quantity. So we want to be bringing in this table as well. So let's head on back there and we can inner join, because as we know, we can't sell an item that we haven't got listed in our warehouse, so we need to bring the latest quantity in. So we'll paste that as, we'll call it H Holdings. Now we need to work out exactly how we're going to join this table into the rest of our data. So let's have another look at that table and see what we've got. We've got a stock item ID, so that is a giveaway in itself. So let's have a look at any other tables where we might have a stock item ID. Potentially in our invoice lines, because that's all about the products themselves. Stock item ID, happy days. So what we can then do is simply join the stock item ID with the stock item ID in our invoice lines. And it's just as simple as that. Go away, find out, bring your table, find a table where your data is, and see if you can join it onto one of your tables here. And of course, if you can't, you may have to bring in other tables to join it on. But we were lucky, we have a stock item ID in that table, and we have a stock item ID in our invoice lines table. So we can join those two together. And the column we're after, let's have a quick look. Latest stock take quantity, latest stock take quantity in there. We simply bring it in. Latest stock take quantity, tab across, and we have it there. So bit by bit, 4 joins, 5 tables, and we're slowly building up our query. So we've done that. Latest item cost price, is that in there? Last cost price, it certainly is. Let's bring that one in quickly. And then we've got package type. Is that in the table here? No, it isn't. So where are we going to find package type? Let's have a look at our database again. Warehouse package types. Here we go. Fantastic. Let's select top 1000 rows, see what we have. So we have a package type ID, and we want to bring in this. So looking for package type ID, we'll just copy that table. Let's have a look at our invoice lines again. Package type ID, happy days. So we know straight away which table to join it on. We'll call that P, package type. Package type ID equals package type ID. So now we've joined our warehouse package types to the sales item lines using the package type ID, and of course we can then bring in the package type name, which we've been asked for here, and the stock group. Now, where do we find the stock group from? Let's have a quick look at invoice lines. As you can see, we don't have a stock group ID or anything of that sort in there. Let's have a look at item holdings. Not in there either. We don't have anything in what we've got for the stock group. So then let's go back to our database and have a look to see if we could find that stock group quickly. Alrighty, so we've found a table called stock groups, so let's have a quick look at that. Again, select 1000 rows, and as you can see, we have a stock group ID. But we've had a look, copy that quickly, we've had a look in our query, and we couldn't really find where the stock group ID is in any of these tables. So we need to therefore find another table where we can link things together. Now we've got stock items, stock groups. Okay, let's check that out. Sounds like, because it's got two table names in the description, sounds like it's like a linking table to link two tables together, potentially. Let's have a look. So you've got the stock item ID, which is what we've seen in a previous table, and we've got the stock group ID as well. So that's all good. Maybe we can use this table as an intermediate sort of bridging table in order to link to bring this table in, this stock group. Stock groups, we'll call this one as S. Have we used S before? No, we haven't. As you can see, with a lot more tables are coming in, it's getting slightly more complicated, but these are all pretty straightforward joins. All of them inner, so pretty straightforward as a whole. So we're looking for stock item ID, equals, let's just comment that out for now. As you can see, it's causing some confusion. On stock item ID, and I think we have one in the invoice lines, do we not? Stock item ID. So here we go. Same with stock item holdings. We'll bring in the stock item ID. Now, although we're not pulling in any data into our select portion from this table, we still need it to link our invoice lines table to our warehouse stock groups table. So using this table as a link between the two, we're then going to bring in the description that we need from stock groups, and we're going to call that G for group, stock group ID equals S dot stock group ID. So as you can see, there's a lot of joins going on. Tables joining to other tables, joining to other tables, etc., etc. It's all a little bit confusing. We'll put that one in quickly. And things can get a little bit, stock group name, things can get a little bit tricky as you go. But remember, just start at the top, bring in your main sort of table that things link on, and just simply work your way down the list, ticking off the requirements as you go. Luckily, we've just had to use inner joins for all of these, as it's pretty straightforward, but we've started to then build up our knowledge of the database a little bit more while looking at the warehouse schema and other tables in there. So when you first start looking at the database, you'll take a lot of time getting used to it, finding out where all the data is, how the tables link to each other, and just keep playing around until you figure it out. So let's see what happens. When we run that off, there you have it, your order IDs, for your customer. Got your quantities, unit price, date of sale, stock quantity, cost price, etc, etc, and stock group name, the one we had to use a little bridging table to bring it in. And there you have it. Quite a few rows in 2015, all the orders that have been invoiced. Key thing to take away from this one, guys, is that sometimes you will have to join quite a few tables together. So make sure you can keep it simple and straightforward, like what I've done here, where you start at the top, bring in the main bulk of data, and then you bolt on other tables as you go. And also be aware that sometimes you will need to bring in some sort of linking table, which is a bridge between two tables. Because as you know, there was no stock group ID within the invoice lines, but there was a stock item ID. So we use that table to link this one with this one, and we got our data in the end, the stock group name. A little bit of a tricky one, a bit cheeky, that one, to get into our list. But once again, once you gain more experience on the databases you're working with, this will be second nature to you in no time at all. And that wraps up part 7. Thank you all for bearing with me and really going through those select statements. I do hope you gained a lot of useful information from that, and also gives you a little bit more of an idea on how to start and construct your SQL statements going forwards. So join me in part 8, where we start to look at some more components of the select statement. We're going to look at inline views and subselects. We're going to have a good look at what those are and how they're used. Until then, everyone, I hope you all have a fantastic day.